G'day folks, and welcome to this, the third video in my series on using GraphQL with Sitecore. In this video, we're going to have a look at some advanced query techniques and using fragments. In previous videos, we covered getting started with GraphQL and how to configure your Sitecore solution to enable access via GraphQL. We took a look at the GraphQL UI and some item queries, and we also looked at some strong typing or inline fragments, if you like. In this video, we're going to look at some more advanced techniques, such as using variables, using fragments for code reuse within our queries, and accessing some of the built-in fields in Sitecore. So let's go and get started. But before we dig into the queries themselves, let's just revisit what we've got in our content tree so the queries make a bit more sense. This is 10.2 with SXA installed and headless services installed over the top of that. And in the tree, I've got a JSS tenant, a JSS site, all the usual things. And under home, I've got these custom templated items, got blog, which we had last video, and that's the home page, and press releases. Blog has several blog items underneath it, and press releases similarly has a couple of press releases underneath it. Let's just quickly also revisit the data structures because they have changed. We've got this route templates, we've got the blog article template and press release template and their respective landing pages. But what I've done, I've split using the base template _article to hold the common elements between blogs and press releases. And then within each of those, I've applied _article as a base template, and similarly, I've done the same for press releases. So they share then those fields, and then they only have to implement the fields that are relevant to them, in which case, images and categories for blog, and the location and attribution text fields for press releases. Over in the UI, you might notice that this has changed a little bit since the previous video. It's a bit funkier. It's got pretty cool schema docs and everything available here. Come on, you can do it. Never mind. And I've got a very simple query pasted in here. Now what you might see is we've got this $data source here. And in the query you can have query variables that you apply. I can have multiples of these separated. These are name value pairs, JSON style. And I'm saying there's a data source with this path, and I'm passing that in as a nullable string because I don't have to pass it. And then within the item query itself, I've named this as data source. Go and get me an item with that path and call it data source and give me its name. So if I was to run that, what's going to happen? Failure. That's weird because I do happen to have the API key already. So you could paste that in here, or alternatively, you could go into this HTTP headers here and put that value in, JSON notation again, and paste in your API key. And what we'll find now is that everything is fine. We've got a home node. Okay, so not particularly useful. What can we do next? Let's go and get the children. So this is something we haven't looked at yet. It's a keyword that says, go and get me the children of this item, which in Sitecore land we know is an object that's available to us on the item. It should be noted that what we're seeing here are only the fields that are available in items. Don't have explicit access to custom fields in our template. So if I was to get the children, I think it's going to be a surprise that we get the blog landing and press releases items. So let's just expand that a little more. I'm going to call this blog home, and I'm going to get the children. Okay, yep, but they haven't changed. Well, children has this nice feature that I can actually use to get the include template IDs. So this will filter the results for me, and you can include multiple. I'm just going to use the one. So what I want is for it to give me only an item that is a child of home that has the template ID of blog homepage, which we have here, which is this D73. I'm going to paste that in, and we just get blog. So similarly, we can go and just copy paste, and we know we want the press release landing page template. Copy that, paste in here, and sure enough, we've now split our query into two groupings, which is kind of useful because we can then go and get the blogs under this one and get the press releases under this one. So let's go right ahead and do just that. To do that, we're going to use the same approach. Go and get me the children. I'm going to call that blogs because that is actually an array. It's going to be an array of blogs. And I want to include template IDs. We're just going to nip over and get the blog article template ID. Yeah. Put that in there. And of course we do need to tell it that we want some info out of that. And I'm going to do the same with a bit of copy paste. That's actually releases home. And the children will be releases. So what is our template ID? We can go back to our content and do it from here. I want all press releases which have this template. Just paste that in. And hopefully, yeah, there we go. Blog home, underneath blog with the children, filtered to blogs only, and press releases filtered to press releases. So it's getting more useful as we build up. One thing to note as well, that actually both of these landing pages have a local data source folder. And if I was to go just get all children, I'm going to end up with this sort of spurious local data source template, which is not particularly useful to our consumers of the data. So by doing this include template IDs, we've filtered those values out. Then for each of these elements underneath, or each of these child elements of the home pages, we're just going to use the technique we did in the last video, and we're going to use an inline fragment or strong typing, whatever you want to call it, that says, similar to the concept of casting, it says, if you're going to give me an item, I want you to map it onto this blog article template so that I can get access to the fields. So notice up here, we don't have any article fields, but as soon as I'm in here, I've got access to these. I just need to get the value of those. And let's grab, I don't know, article author and the value. And I can do exactly the same thing with a press release, except it now knows with this context help that I actually want a press release. And we know that they share common fields based on the interface template _ article. So this should pretty much work. Great, and that's what it's done. We've got all of these weird press releases and blogs available to us. What's the problem here? We're seeing repetition, and in computing we always think that's usually a bad thing anyway. We've got the same stuff repeated. What if I want to change that base template and I've got a whole bunch of these, I have to go and edit, I might make a mistake. Okay, so GraphQL gives us a really nice feature called Fragments, and they are pieces of logic that can be reused to prevent the duplication of code and in fact having to do extra typing, and has the advantage of reuse, simplicity, making things more maintainable, etc., all that good stuff. And we can use fragments to extract these out into like a subroutine, if you like, using some pretty old naming technology there. But we're really saying, give me a thing, a piece of logic that I can reuse. So we do that with the keyword fragment, and we're going to go blog article. And we're actually just going to take these fields from there, put them in here. And what we have to do is we have to say, this thing that I'm calling, this reference is blog article, that's just a name, and it's going to reference a template of type blog article. You notice before when that wasn't there, it was freaking out, and now it's happy. All right. And what we do is we specify using this dot notation, and we just go blog article. I don't have to call it blog article, I could call it whatever I want. If I change this bit, though, I have to change that bit. And we will see exactly the same thing with press releases. So I call it something different. Press release on press, excuse that context help getting in the way, on press release. And we've got commonality. And I'll just do this here and go dot 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 on press release. Sorry, not on, pardon me. We are saying if I want to render a press release, use this fragment. If I want to render a blog, use that fragment. Which is all very well, but we haven't really improved the usability and the code reuse here. But we do know something else, that in fact, well, they've got unique fields, so we've got location, which is a value, and blogs have categories, which has target items in it. Oop, must have, pardon me, we've got to put, just put name in there. And we can see our child items target. We looked at that last time. So we're getting closer, but we do know that we've actually got the ability to access the underscore article template. So what we're going to do is under this blogs one, yeah, I want to get blogs, but I'll also want to get dot 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 on underscore article, do this. Give me those and those. So now this thing's looking a bit simpler. We've factored our article out, interface template out, and that enables us to do this. So blog article inherits an article, so we can put that, and we can do similarly on press releases, and happy days, it works. Even better, we really want to make this a bit better, we'll use a proper fragment for article on underscore article, get rid of all of that, put them in there, and we just go dot 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 article, and up here we can do, oh, excuse me, we can do the same, replace those there. Now hopefully, if I haven't done a typo in that little refactor, we get the same results. That's awesome, because all we're getting from blog are the things that blog owns, and from press releases is the thing that press releases own. But the stuff that's shared is only ever listed out in one place. We've still got to, do this bit over here. But I think you'll agree, and when these queries get more complex, this becomes quite a powerful tool. So I think that's clean enough for now. We could have done something here to get all children of either press release or blog type, merge this into one. It all depends on what your needs are. So I did mention we're going to look at a couple of other things, some of the built-in queries. So if we want to sort things, Sitecore has us covered, but you can't get direct access to the sort order field here. What you can do is you can say there is a field, because I happen to know that there's a field, and name is underscore sort order, and we want the value of that value Oops. Put that back where it belongs. And we should get a sort order. We do. We've got 10, 20, 30, and so on. And we could, of course, do that for press releases. I won't labour the point here. Another thing we can get is the URL. So let's say, well, let me do it here. What happens? As if by magic, the URLs are available to us, which is what we need if we're going to use this stuff in the front end. If we want to render a bunch of teasers or content cards that point to blog articles somewhere else in the site, then we need that value for our front end to render. But it actually has some more useful features. We can actually pass some options similar to how we would in our MVC C# code or Razor views or whatever. We can have options, and options is expecting an object of type URL options, and you're just going to trust me on this. You can look in the context help in the docs, schema docs, but I'm just going to put always include. Oh, that should be giving me a. Why isn't that giving me a value? URL should be giving me. Okay. Always include server URL, typo, true. You know why? Because it's plural. No wonder it wasn't giving me context help. So now we can see we actually disable language embedding, all the stuff we'd normally use in our URL builder options. So if I run that now, wow, we've got a qualified host name here with a protocol and then the relative path. So that's pretty cool as well that we can do that in GraphQL. And there we have it. We've looked at a few new aspects of doing GraphQL queries against Sitecore. We've passed variables into the query. We've filtered results with the include template IDs filter. We've had a look at getting data out of the base item type, e.g. name, ID, sort order, URL. We've rendered out some options into the URL field, and we've used these options to modify how the URLs are presented. We've broken our code out into reusable fragments and made it much more readable and much more reusable. And we've shared a fragment across different templates. So in my next video, I'm going to be looking at using search in GraphQL, and I hope this has been useful for you. Thanks very much.